Okay, so I've got a treat today. I have a silver branded double cassette recorder from the 80s. A boombox, a ghetto blaster, whatever you want to call it. This was a quality unit. I can tell that by the weight. It's really quite heavy and everything on it is quite nicely done. I never came across the silver brand, but there are a lot of these tape recorders that came out. So this is a silver brand. The model is STW44. Let's just take a quick look at its features. So we've got our dual tape units in the front. It's got stereo, radio. We've got, so we've got radio mode, tape, dubbing, and continuous play. That's interesting. I'll have to try that out. I wonder if continuous play means that the first tape, when it reaches the end, it flips over to the other side, or whether it just goes on and starts playing the second tape. Well, that's something I can look at once this is fixed. It has a headphone jack and it has two left and right microphone jacks on it. What else? Let's take a look. How many batteries does it take? What does it look like in there? Oh, that looks pretty clean, actually. So it takes how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Takes 8 D-size batteries. Yes, D-cell. Wow. And that's a lot of batteries. And batteries were expensive back in the day, so you know, this would be taking it out to a party somewhere where you didn't have electricity, carrying it on your shoulder, and bopping around to the latest rap song. Alright. So the plan with this is it does turn on, I'll do that in a second, but the belts have gone in the unit. So I'm going to need to open it up and try and replace the belts. Once I've done that, I have, since the last time I attempted to repair a tape deck, I've actually gotten myself a calibration tape. So this tape has a couple of tracks on it. The first track is a 2-minute tone at 440 hertz, which is an A. And you can use a mobile phone with a tuner on it, or you can use an instrument tuner and tune to the A tone. So basically, once the belts have been replaced, you adjust the speed of the motors until the A tone played by this matches the A tone in the tuner, and then your tape deck is calibrated and everything it plays should be exactly as the artist intended. Let's just power on this bad boy and see how it sounds. So we'll put it onto radio. I'll turn the volume and tone down. Here we go. So I'll put it onto FM. AC/DC. Dirty deeds and the thunder cheap. Yep, cool. Alright, that's excellent. So now I need a tape, and I'll put it in and we'll hear how it sounds. Okay, so I've got myself a tape, The Magic of Foster and Allen, the folk duo. So I will eject this, put it in, and let's press play. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, that's quite bad. I'll see what the other side sounds like. Oh, it's already got a tape in it. that? Barbara Streisand. Nah, we can do without her. Okay. Ooh, nothing. Does that reach the end of the tank, or you literally can't get anything out of this side? No. So, radio works. Tape decks, not so much. Cool. All right, let's get started. Okay. It feels like all the obvious ones are there. So is there one underneath there? No. Still a bit concerned about this one in here. Another go. The only thing I can think of is that perhaps it's actually broken off inside the plastic housing there, and so the whole screw and the thing it should be anchored to is spinning around. Why don't we just move on and see if we can't figure out how this thing opens up. So, just looking for missing screws. There's a screw here that I haven't taken out. So, that's all the obvious screws. There are two screws here that hold on the antenna, so I don't know if they're being used to anchor it as well. Just going to give it a bit of a pry. Find my spudger. Seems to be wanting to come out hard on this side. Yeah, that screw there is a real problem. I might undo these two screws just in case. Might have nothing to do with it, but better to be safe than sorry. And now this is going to come loose. I don't think that was doing anything. I'll just put that back in place. Okay, spudger, do your work. Does not feel as though it wants to come apart. Am I missing anything? Or I just need to use blunt force? I'm just very concerned about this screw over here. This side does seems like it should be coming apart. It's bound to be clips, right? Did remove that screw? Yes, definitely did. Be gently. Alright, here we go. Looks like it's just going to pull out. Careful of wiring. Let me put this away. Okay. And I want to be careful not to touch anything in there that I can't see, because there could be some capacitance. Yeah, and I can immediately see, I'm not sure if it's obvious here, here's the screw that I was worried about. And you can see that I think it was just stripped. And so it wasn't holding it in, but it wasn't coming out either. What have we got here? As far as wiring goes. So we've got the power wires coming from transformer over here. I think they might be going into a little clip. And then we have the aerial connected by this wire over here, which is also clipped in. I want to not break that. Let's see, how is that connected? It's just pushed on. Is there a terminal there? I can't quite see. Yes. There. So it just pushes on to a lug that's there. So that's that. Oh, there's bugs and dead spideys and all sorts of stuff in here. It's not great. And I do want to remove this power cable, but I'm a bit worried about sticking my fingers near that big capacitor. I don't really want to stick my fingers in there without completely being able to see what I'm doing. So these wires have actually been glued in place. Okay, there's enough slack there for me to set this down so I can take a bit more of a look. Okay. So just want to see if I can't put a little clip in there. It's very difficult for me to see. Done. Here we go. All right. So that's the board. So a lot of the heft in this portion, there's like that transformer weighs quite a bit. You can see that there is a fuse here, which isn't blown, obviously. There's nothing wrong with it. It still works. I guess that's where I'd be looking first if this wasn't didn't have any power. Don't know if you can see, you've got some like diodes there. They look really, I don't know, dirty, old, probably just old. There's a lot of old bugs in it. Anyway, that's fine. We'll clean that out a little bit later. Put that aside somewhere. Let's have a look. All right. So here's the belt here, in amongst all of this horrible... What's that? Is that a spider's web? It's just gunk. You know, there's the belt and it's as loose as anything. But I think in order to get to it properly, I'm going to have to remove this circuit board here. And this circuit board just looks as though it's held on by some screws. So that shouldn't be too difficult, except for the fact that all of the controls are along the top here. You can see that. So getting these out may be an issue. I guess I really need to... I mean, I can remove the knobs, that's fine. Oh, and these switches here, well, that's clever. So these switches have nothing to stop them from sliding out. It's, in fact, do the knobs? Yeah, the knobs are the only thing that would prevent me from pulling the board out this way once I get it loose. So hopefully I can just pull the knobs straight off. They usually just friction fit, yeah, like that. And then we should be able to undo these screws. So there's one screw here, 2, 3. But before that, I might go and find a vacuum cleaner and clean out some of this stuff because it looks gross. These are all the same screws. Well, I'm not sure. I'll put these ones over to the other side. Screws coming out with a nice satisfying crunch. So I'm 100% certain no one has been in this unit, which is good. Is that it? So just 3. No, it feels like there's another one. Where would that be? Feels like it's been held on in this area over here. Is it? Disconnect these. These disconnect. Plug in there. Need to be very careful with these connectors because they're always very brittle. It's like they have a little locking mechanism, but I can't quite understand how it works. Okay. No, I think they're just friction fit. But quite tightly. Okay, that's that one. I love how they're all different sizes, so I know exactly how to put it back in. And I think, yes, there is one extra screw hidden underneath these wires. Is that right? I believe so. So there's a clip here holding down the wires. And it also serves as another screw. So, yeah, so it's just a bit of a wire that bends over, puts them down. So is that the thing that was holding the board in place? No, it feels like there's one more, and it's over here somewhere. Oh, yeah, that one, the blindingly obvious one. Let's see. It feels like it wants to come. But not 100%. Still feels like there's something holding it down. I do not want to remove it until I know exactly what it is. Oh, like it's just a clip over here. Okay, very gently. Just rest it on there. So what else have we got going on? There's some wires that have been soldered there. Is it just wires that are holding it? Okay. Ta-da! So I can't really disconnect this because you can see there are wires here that are soldered through. There's a wire there. There's wires over here. Although these do have a clip like the one I just showed you, so that I should be able to get some more slack. The wires, maybe it will just dangle out. Let's have a look. Enough. Yep. So clearly that's the way it was designed, to allow you to remove the board and then have it dangle. Okay. See that? So I can just sit that down on the... And there we have it. We're straight into the guts, the mechanics of it. And so what do I see? Well, this is a little bit concerning. You can see there's a belt here. This looks to be... is it the main? Is it the first? No. So this is the main drive here over this side, and this is the secondary drive. And what I can see is that this one has a belt on it that, you know, I seem to have one of these. These just seems like a normal belt. But the one that's over here actually is thin and flat. And I'm 100% sure I won't have a belt to match that in my generic set of belts. And I also noticed that there's a little one down here, which is very, very loose, and I don't know what that's for. It's part of the mechanism, I guess. It's not, it doesn't exist over on this one. So this is the primary tape number 1, and this is the secondary one, I think. So that's a little bit concerning. Oh, there's more bugs and things in here. So what I'm saying is that I think I can replace this belt, but this belt here, I don't think that I'll be able to find a matching one. And this little belt down here could be a problem as well. There's only one thing for it, and just need to keep pulling it apart and see what we can do. On reflection, I think this is the plan. I've worked out what this little belt is. This belt down here is actually the tape counter. So it runs the counter that tells you how many minutes or seconds you are into the tape. So that's not so important. This one here, I'm going to have to remove, measure, and see if I can't buy one on eBay or from China or somewhere. So that's not going to be anything I can do very quickly. This belt, on the other hand, the one on the secondary drive, there is a chance that I have this belt. So what I might do is I might replace this belt and then put it back together and see if I can't just get the second drive to work. In the meantime, I can order, hopefully, this flat belt, and when it comes in, I can repair the initial drive, or the first drive, the main drive. So that's really the plan. And this little belt down here, I'm not 100% sure. It looks like it's really stuck in there. Like, I'll have to pull apart quite a lot of mechanical stuff, maybe, to get at this belt. But it might be worth doing anyway. Anyway, that's the plan. See if I can get this belt off the main drive. I have a feeling that we just need to remove this screw. And be able to get the belt out. There's actually a spring under there. So this under there. So I just need to be careful that the spring doesn't pop out. Yeah. There's no space between there to get that out. Oh, and there goes the spring. Got the belt out though. And here's the spring over here. And so the spring sits over a little it's a little bit of plastic there, and then it's supposed to keep under there, so keep the pressure pushing up on this thing here. So I'll need something to help me push that spring down. I have to be very careful that the spring doesn't just ping across the room. I just want to put the screw back in so I don't lose it. Okay, so obviously the spring provides a way of putting tension on this. I actually don't know what this is. I don't know what its purpose is. Like whether it's just to stop this flywheel coming up too much. I can't see what the pressure is. I don't think it's actually touching. Well, it can't be touching on that, otherwise it would be causing friction. So why is it there? So I can see that it comes over here and there's actually a spring over this side, which you can't see. So the bracket can tilt in this direction marginally as well, and there's pressure against it, and there's screws over here that probably allow you to adjust it this way. So you can adjust it this way and you can adjust it that way. I'm just not 100% sure what the purpose is of that. But anyway, we have the belt from the main drive, and I need to measure this, and so that I can order another one. So I need to go and find my calipers. Okay, I've got my digital calipers here. If you don't have calipers, you need to get some. They're just great devices. This is just a cheap one. I bought it at Aldi actually, as a special. So my understanding is that to measure a belt, it's actually the total length of the belt. So if you were to cut this belt in half and then lay it out flat, that would be the dimension of the belt that you're after. Otherwise, what you can do, if you don't want to cut it and lay it out, is just measure the belt like this and then double the measurement. So I don't want to put too much pressure on it. So just a little bit of pressure puts that at 126 millimeters. Puts that at 126 millimeters. And then we can measure the width as well. Just zero that. And the width is 2.5. Just check that. Yep. 2.55, probably just 2.5. Now it's saying 3 millimeters. Hang on. Be careful not to pinch it. Pinching it a little bit there. No, it's 3. Yeah, because I can pass the belt through that gap. So that puts it at 3 millimeters. I've just made a note of that. So it's 126 times 2. I'm guessing that's actually 150 mil belt, flat, 3 millimeters wide. So that's the main belt. So let's get off this belt here, which is from the secondary drive, and I believe that I have a belt that would fit this. So the idea will be we'll try and get this to work today. And I'm not sure about this little tape counter belt down here, whether or not I'm going to attempt it. I think in order to get at that, I have to remove this mechanism. And in order to remove this mechanism, I have to unscrew this is where the buttons are. So I think I have to unscrew each one of these, and then I need to, there's 4 screws here, then maybe the whole thing will just lift out and then I can get to the tape counter underneath. But maybe I'll leave that. I really am just wanting to get one of the drives working today, so we'll just concentrate on this one here, and if I can get that working, I can order the belt for this. And this appears to be one of these belts that I've got, so I can always do that later when I get the belt for the main drive. So this is the belt that I'm going to use. I've put a bit of blue painter's tape over the original belt, and I found the one that matches it closest, and I've measured it, and it's 2 millimeters shorter approximately than the original belt, so I'm thinking that's probably the best size. Otherwise I'll have to go something more like 5 millimeters, but we'll try this one first. Okay, So hopefully we can just slip this underneath here. A bit of a lift. Get it all the way over there. Now it's a little bit twisted, so hopefully if I just keep, it's not right, if I keep spinning this, will a twist come out of it? I'll just loosen it off, let it that looks good. Okay, so I don't know. I think the best thing to do would be to put it back together and see if I can get the second tape drive to work. Before I attempt to put this back together, and that is I need to locate the pots that control the speed of the motors. And I've looked over this board and I can see there's a number of pots on the board that are probably for tuning the radio and things like that. But right here is two identical pots next to each other, and they're the only two that are identical. And I noticed that there is, somebody has drawn a line on them, across them, and that is exactly what I do when I'm adjusting pots. Is I take the current position that they're in and I draw a line, and so I can adjust it and I never have to go back to normal. The original position, I know exactly where the line is. So I'm guessing that these are the correct ones. The other thing is I'm not going to plug this back into the power, into mains power. I don't know enough about electricity to do that. So this is where the power connector was connected over here. We know that it takes 8 D-cell batteries, it's 12 volts. I think what I'll do is I will put a connector on here and attach it to my bench power supply so that I can power it from there with a DC voltage. Painter's tape. One of the greatest inventions of modern ages. Sticky enough to be useful, not too sticky to cause a problem. Okay, so shall we turn it on and see if we get the magic smoke come out? One more check. Black, red. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I don't see any smoke coming out of it. Let's see what happens. So, try and do this upside down. Where is the, on FM?
To the crowd, he's given the old footy, fisty up.
Okay, so we got power. Was the footy. All right. So it's the, maybe I'll flip this around. Do I have enough lead? Okay. So it's this tape. So I haven't cleaned it yet. Last time that I tried, this didn't even turn over. Let's just give it a go. Press play. Async. Sounds great. Really did sound like the head wasn't doing anything. Just make sure I haven't done anything stupid, like there's a dubbing, tape dubbing, and continuous play.
Going through the socket.
I think that makes a difference. I don't see why. Let's put this thing there. Let's give that another go. So you can hear that hum, but there's no sound coming through. This was the problem. I didn't have this connector put back on. It's an oversight. So let's do this again. Got power.
As dated a song that we've sung.
So that sounded awful. But I think when I first did this, we weren't getting anything coming out of this at all. So that's an improvement. We are getting tape out of this unit, but it's all wobbly, fluttery. So I think before I do anything else, we should adjust the speed and see if whether that increases, helps it. And if not, then we'll have to move on. Maybe the belt isn't tight enough. Not really sure, but we do need to see if we can adjust the speed anyway. So I need to find a pen so I can mark the positions of the pot, and then we can adjust it and see if that makes a difference. Marked the pot. So this pot here is still facing in exactly the same direction as the marks that the previous person put on it. And I've put some extra marks here. So we might as well just start it playing and see if turning that actually improves sound.
Up to me, your space as you were. When
Yes, that's definitely.
and I were young.
This is where I'm at. So I've been trying to adjust the speed of the motor. Now, my initial research indicated that there are two ways of doing this. One is that you can change, you'll find two pots for each of the motors on the motherboard of the PCB of the tape deck, and then you can adjust those and it will adjust the speed. I've marked the pots on here and I've adjusted most of them, and it hasn't made any difference, so I've put them back in their initial positions. So the only other way is to adjust it by using a mechanism on the back of the motors. Now, I did not think that that would be the case with this tape deck, because if you have a look at this, you can see that this is the top of the motor. To access the back of the motor is physically impossible while the unit is inside the case. So I dismissed that, but now I'm thinking that yes, that's the only option that I have left, which would mean that in order to adjust the speed of the motor, I would have to remove this, flip it over, hopefully be able to put a tape into it, hook all of this back up, hook it up to power, and have all of the bits dangling out of the case, and then press play on it and adjust the motor while basically holding this unit in my hand at the same time. And I thought that would be completely unrealistic, but I've come to the conclusion that's the only way that this is going to work. So, yeah. Okay, let's see if we can't remove this unit completely. It might actually just pull out. Here we go. Let's have a look. And yes. Okay, so I think this is the speed control for the motor, which means that basically I have to adjust the speed while this thing is out of the case. All right, let me reconnect all of this back up together and we'll go from there. I'm a bit nervous about this, but I have everything hooked up. I've put a bit of cloth underneath the main PCB to hopefully stop it shorting out. I have taken the unit out. I've put in my calibration tape, which should be playing at a track 2, which is 3,150 hertz. I'll turn this on and see what happens. Here we go. Oh, that's odd. Is that... Okay, the motor for the drive number 1 is actually spinning, but no, it's not. It's not. Play hasn't been pressed, so I'm not really sure why that's happening. But anyway, look, let's just see what happens. I've got this app on here called Sonic Tools, which displays the whatever's coming in the microphone in hertz, and I'll put that there, and I will try and press play on this unit. You can see, oops, oh, that stopped. I sort of touched the back of this. The other motor stopped. Oh, this is so dodgy. Anyway, now it started again. Oh, I really don't know what's going on. Okay. So what's that? That's at 3,120 hertz. The calibration speed is, what did I say it was? 3,150. So it's pretty much spot on. But I want to see what happens when I turn this. Oh, okay, that changed it. 1,300. careful because if I touch the back of the... Okay, so that's 13, 11. And that's 13, it's jumping between 13, I think that's pretty close. So 1350, 1344, 1360, I think that's as good as it's going to get. Stop. I'm going to unplug this quickly before something blows up. Power this off. Ugh. Okay, that was nerve-wracking. But that is how you adjust the speed on this particular unit. You have to put a screwdriver into the back of the motor and adjust it while everything's dangling out in the middle of nowhere. Okay. I'll plug this back in, see if it lets out the magic smoke. So, here we go. Nope. Excellent. Just check the radio still works.
Well, Matt, since I've been talking to Christian, I was talking to my daughter-in-law, and she said...
Rubbish. Alright, that looks good. So why don't we try the reference tape and see whether that's still... So it should be 3,150. Yeah, and that's fluctuating between 3,130 and 3,155. It's annoying. Yeah, so I think that's pretty good. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think that will really affect playback of cassette tapes. So I'm calling that a win. There's just one more thing left to do.